Welcome to the Pigskin Podcast, and today we're going to discuss Todd Gurley and Cam Newton's injuries, and is there any chance they retire early like Andrew Luck did? Let's get into it. So Andrew Luck retired at the age of 30 years old due to several injuries and the passion for his game. He just lost it, so he retired early. Well, if we look at Andrew Luck's situation and we look at Todd Gurley and Cam Newton, there's some similarities between the three of them. Let's start with Cam Newton. Cam Newton is 30 years old, and he's got this weird shoulder injury, and he's been saying he's healthy now. He's got an ankle injury as well, but he's been saying for months he's healthy, kind of like Andrew Luck did. And then his shoulder's hurting, and now he's missed several games, and Kyle Allen, the backup, has played really well. They're 2-0 in games Cam Newton's missed this season. And Cam's kind of got like the Andrew Luck symptoms going on. He's okay. He's okay. The organization tells us he's healthy, he's fine, and then all of a sudden he starts missing games, not practicing. And Cam Newton, when he did play this season, he played in 2 games this season, and he was just not himself. He missed wide open passes, didn't throw the ball very good, and then he later said his shoulder was bad. But even then, his shoulder, I think there's a real possibility here. We could be looking at Cam Newton being the next Andrew Luck, and we could see it becoming a trend. People make more money nowadays, so they don't have to play as long. Or when they retire, they're not going to be bankrupt if they're wise with their money. So I really feel like Cam Newton is a good candidate to say. Well, it's going to really have to see how he does next season, how he gets rehabs and stuff. Because right now it's a really weird injury, in my opinion. That's just not what you normally see from organizations and their franchise quarterbacks. But here we are, kind of like another Andrew Luck situation, almost identical, really. And if we look at Todd Gurley's only 25, and he's a running back, so it's a little bit different. He would retire, or he would get close to being done around the age of 30, as well as quarterbacks like Luck and Newton could play till they're 35, all the way up to their 40s. So that's troublesome for the NFL for quarterbacks to be retiring in their 30s. But if you look at Todd Gurley, he's only 25 years old, but the thing with him is he went from averaging 20 to 25 touches per game, being one of the most explosive, dangerous weapons in the NFL, to becoming almost non-existent in the Ram offense. And what I mean by that is when he's a workhorse and you try to get him the ball as much as possible because he's the best player on offense. And then at the end of the year, he missed games. C.J. Anderson came in, had really nice games, over 100 yards of rushing. Did really good against Dallas in the playoffs. And then you don't give him the ball that much. And then the Super Bowl, he had a decent game in the Super Bowl. And Todd Gurley did have a good game in the playoffs. He had over 100 yards in the playoffs. But after that, he's done nothing. And this season, he said he was healthy, but on the off season, they used the word arthritis in his knees. And that scares the crap out of everybody. They just signed him to a huge deal. He's the second, well, at the time, he was the highest paid running back at the time of his contract. So they expected him to have 20, 25 touches a game, even more, because he's just that good and that explosive. But with his knee, and in college, he had a real bad injury to his knee. So I think that transfers over, and I think that's part of the problem here. But unbelievable that he had 5 carries against the Buccaneers. Now, game flow had a lot to do with that because they got behind by 21 points early. But 5 carries for Todd Gurley, the second highest paid running back, and only got 5 carries. That is troublesome. That to me is a huge red flag. Todd Gurley is not the same and will never be the same. Now, it just depends on how long Gurley can play, actually. But I don't know if Gurley will make it to 30, honestly. I could see him lasting 4 years if it never recovers. If it recovers and it's not an issue and he goes back to the workhorse, then he'll definitely play till he's after 30. But at this pace now, I think he's out of the league before he's 30 years old. Chris Carter on First Things First said the Rams need to cut Todd Gurley. They're just going to have to move on from Gurley. It's becoming that big of a problem. I'm not so sure it's that much of a problem that they're going to have to cut him, but because they just signed him. Like, he's only a couple years into his contract. So that is going to be a little tough. They're just going to have to eat the money, and I don't see the Rams doing that. I think they're going to hold on and hope for Todd Gurley days back. But I don't know if he'll ever be the same. I want him to be the same. But from what we've seen this season, he's barely getting touches. He hasn't had over 100 yards rushing. Yeah, he's more of a receiver now. They've targeted him more in the passing game than he's ran the ball. And, I mean, that's not new. I mean, last year he was targeted a lot, too, because screens and stuff. But it's almost like teams will just stack the box, put 6 defenders on the line, and they take Gurley away because he's not explosive anymore to beat it. He can't beat that defense. So teams take the rushing game away from the Rams very early and can't do nothing with them. Now let's segue into my top 5 picks for Week 5 in the NFL. First, I want to start with the Titans and Bills. I think the Titans will win in a very low-scoring game. I don't see anybody scoring more than 17 points in that game whatsoever. But I do think the home team wins. The Titans have a good defense, not the better defense, but they have a really solid defense that can hold the Bills' offense. And I think the Titans' offense can do just enough with Derrick Henry and Marcus making a couple passes to pull out the victory against the Bills at home, 15-10. Let's go to Minnesota Vikings at New York Giants. Listen, Kirk Cousins has been awful this year, but the Giants' secondary has been just as bad. So I think Kirk Cousins is going to light him up, put up huge numbers against the Giants' defense, and then for 1 week, the NFL world will be quiet about Kirk Cousins. New England at Washington. Now listen, this is a gimme pretty much. There's no way the Washington Redskins come within 2 touchdowns of the Patriots. It's going to be cakewalk. It's probably not even going to be watchable. No matter who starts at quarterback for the Redskins. And it's kind of disappointing for the rest of the league that the Patriots get such an easy schedule. I mean, they haven't even played a real team yet, and they're about to be 5-0. It must be nice, New England. Kansas City at home against the Colts on Sunday night. Let's see. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to tear that defense up. The Colts defense has been nice this season. It's not been terrible. But Patrick Mahomes is going to make it look terrible in the big stage of Sunday night at home. He's going to just destroy him. There's no chance. And here's a little Arizona Cardinals at Cincinnati Bengals. I think Kyler Murray and the Cardinals get their first win of the season. Yep, they're definitely getting the first win of their season against the dreadful Cincinnati Bengals. Andy Dalton needs to move on. They need to trade A.J. Green, and they need to restart and reboot their franchise. That franchise is dead with Andy Dalton. They need to reboot. All right, folks. That's all here on the Pigskin Podcast. Stay tuned for more.